All right. My name is Pastor Sanders, and at this time, I feel that it is imperative that I make a response to the Deshaun Watson circumstance and saga. I am calling this my essay on Deshaun Watson, subtitle, A New Form of Lynching. I am using the acronym NFL intentionally. NFL for me on this day stands for New Form of Lynching. In recent years, I recall an interview with Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods stated that that racism has gone nowhere. It was Tiger Woods who said that racism is alive and well. It has just become more sophisticated. It uses different methods, but it is intended to achieve the same goal. There's a message that black men receive early on. I received it as a young man. It was reiterated throughout my life, and at every juncture of my life, whether it was entering Catholic school, whether it was intermingling with the majority population of Europeans at that school, whether it was a career choice, whether it was a job choice, I've always been cautioned to be humble. To be humble because there is an ongoing threat to my life. Not my life or a threat to my life from other brothers, as we like to talk about black on black crime, but a threat to my life from the majority culture that is determined to keep the black man either castigated, emasculated, castrated, or down and quote unquote in their proper place. The system has not allowed, nor does it show any indications of allowing, for a black man to be able to hold his head high, work with dignity, and as an equal partner. We have been told, and I have been told personally, even from a very young age, to never challenge the system. I've been told that by various people in various different ways. Just fit in. Just do not challenge the system, and we will no longer lynch you. Wow, that's a message I've received. We will not expose, this is the new form of lynching. Our new form of lynching will make it look like you have lynched yourself. And therefore, we no longer have to expose our dirty hands. I would suggest that the new form of lynching has stretched through the jail system, where persons appear to hang themselves. Literally, we hear reports of persons repeatedly in jail who hang themselves. We have reports, well documented, of where police departments have arrested persons and they have handcuffed them behind their back. But somehow, mysteriously and miraculously, these very same persons not only received or were able to find a loaded firearm, but they also were somehow able to take their handcuffed hands and get that gun to their temple and blow their brains out. Well documented, repeatedly. We have situations where we have this new form of lynching being found in such a sophisticated manner that it teaches its participants, in this case in the NFL, its players, that they are never to challenge the system for fear of their livelihood and their life. And if they do challenge the system, then the system will make it look like they have killed themselves. The only difference is that now this new form of lynching no longer hopes to kill the body. What this new form of lynching does is it aims to kill the character. It is character assassination, which has proved to be even more effective than physical lynching. I want you to hear me when I say that NFL players are told literally and figuratively to never challenge the owners. They are told to never challenge the owner's authority. And if they do so, there is hell to pay. Deshaun Watson really only made one mistake, and even that was not a crime. Deshaun Watson violated the old boy network, the plantation politics, the unspoken rule that you must never publicly challenge the authority of the new form of lynching owner. Deshaun Watson made one request publicly. That request was that he wanted to play for a black coach. He wanted Texas to hire a black coach, or he wanted to be traded. To express himself as a man does, or as an equal partner in the NFL would, all of the owners aligned themselves at that point to put this agitator in his place. The owners in the new form of lynching have always enjoyed one privilege, which they refuse to relinquish. And that privilege is that they have the prerogative to do what they want to and to hire or not hire whoever they want to with no apologies. The new form of lynching has determined that there will be no merit system, no experience standard, or any other code of performance that will be respected as it relates to any black man who aspires to be an NFL head coach or an NFL owner. They have determined that there are no rights that they are required to respect as it relates to any black man in the NFL in this new form of lynching. Not coincidentally, this is the same conclusion that was drawn in the Dred Scott decision of Missouri so long ago. There are no rights of a black man that any white man must respect. My, how everything has changed and nothing has changed. They have made no apologies, the owners of the NFL, because they don't have to. They have, even though they have a work staff of more than 90% of its employees in this new form of lynching league. The owners know that they have no economic collective power, this 90% I'm talking about, or a collective mind. Wow. Because they are effectively managed as property on the NFL plantation. This new form of lynching does not apply to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has effectively shown that not only can he disregard the rules of the new form of lynching league, but he will be rewarded. He will be rewarded as if he has done no wrong. Tom Brady is not subject to the rules of the new form of lynching NFL. He is a serial cheater. Hear me now. Tom Brady is a serial cheater. He is not the GOAT. He is a serial cheater. He is a consistent violator of the code of ethics, the code of fair play, and the code of sportsmanship in the new form of lynching NFL. Tom Brady has been rewarded repeatedly. He has gone with minor slaps on the hand for egregious violations repeatedly. He has been lifted up as a model and as an example, as the greatest example of an NFL player, disregarding the blatant fact that he has violated every possible rule with only one goal in mind, which is to win championships, which he has been allowed to do and is still being allowed to win more. If the truth be told, Tom Brady is a disgrace to fair play and a poster boy for white superiority. And it is no wonder that he is a Trump supporter. The method has changed, but the goal has remained the same. We cite methods of Willie Lynch, where the goal is to communicate to the slave or to the NFL player that you have no voice and your life has no value. According to Willie Lynch, you can Google it if you like, they exploited the differences between the slaves. If one was tall and one short, there was an opportunity to divide and conquer. If one had good hair and one had not so straight hair, I'll take that back. If one had kinky hair and if one had straighter hair, then that was an opportunity to divide and conquer. If one was light-skinned and one was black, that was an opportunity to divide and conquer. If one worked in the house and one worked on the field, that was an opportunity to divide and conquer. Furthermore, there is the account of where they sought to display a situation where they could communicate to all of the women and the children at one time how useless, or not useless, but how expendable the black life was. And they tied the hand of one black man to the end of a horse, and they tied his other hand to another horse, and they tied his feet to horses going in all different directions, and they gave those horses the signal, and they watched that man be pulled to pieces just to communicate to the plantation population that your life has no value, your voice has no value, your essence has no value. Well, we find the same thing happening to the character of Deshaun Watson and so many today, but I stopped by to tell you and to tell Deshaun Watson that you do have a voice. Your life does have value. Keep fighting, boy. Stay in the court. Don't give in. Don't agree, and don't admit to anything that you are not guilty of. Our lives depend on it. Lord have mercy. The new form of lynching is based on media hysteria. It is based on misinformation and disinformation. It is based upon the assassination of the character rather than the lynching of the body. It is just as effective, if not more effective. How can a handful of owners, 32, rule all of these big, strong, so-called intelligent men in the NFL with an iron fist so effectively? The key ingredient is fear. The key ingredient is fear. The method is different, but the goal is the same. In order to control the players and the new form of lynching NFL, you must instill in them the fear of God, that if they ever speak out against the injustices that are glaring within their employment, that they must deal with and are prevalent every second of their existence in the new form of lynching NFL, then they must face the fear that they will be excommunicated from the NFL, not only by teams, but by media, and more importantly, they will be castigated by black media, black news reporters who take their byline from the owners and the persons who pay their salaries and give them access to inside information. Therefore, they use their less than significant number of black journalists' presence and news reporters and talking heads to further bury any player who dares to show some manhood, some intelligence, and some resolve. Go ahead, Deshaun Watson. It is no wonder that Bill Russell maintained a level of distance and seclusion from the sports world, and in particular from the sports media, and more importantly from black minority journalists and sports writers, sports writers, and by and large black media, including especially Cathy Hughes. Cathy Hughes serves, in my opinion, as the linchpin to the new, more sophisticated form of lynching for our black players. And they serve the same purpose in the sports world as the house nigger served on the plantation. Oh yes, I'm calling Cathy Hughes a house nigger. The same house nigger that made Tom Joyner retire. The same house nigger that made Tavis Smiley disappear. The same house nigger that shut down Black News. The same house nigger that has 57 radio stations throughout these United States, internet presence, a television show, TV One, and all kinds of networks that has not covered even one single Black Lives Matters event. We have to depend on CNN, MSNBC, and all of those other networks that have their own agendas. Why is it that the one Black network that has the capacity to show the vicious, malicious treatment of our people throughout this country and this world refuses to be a news agency and settles to be an entertainment agency? I don't know about you, but I've seen enough booties and enough things shaken in my face to understand that you can shake your booty all day long, but it will not bring you respect. It will not bring you freedom. It will not bring you independence, but it will make Cathy Hughes rich. Y'all better hear me. She's not the only one. Bob Johnson was no better. Our rappers and dappers are no better. If not for their influence, marijuana use would not be as popular as it is today. I will never forget the day that I saw Ice Cube murder an opposing gang member in a movie, In Vengeance and Revenge. And I thought to myself that day, this is a movie, and that man in that movie did not die, but it looked like he died at the hand of another brother. And because of this movie, there are going to be hundreds of thousands of brothers who are going to die at the hand of another brother because they saw Ice Cube do it. Lord have mercy. We've got to do better. We've got to do better. We have settled for our place on the plantation. But it's time to realize that we can own the plantation. We have settled for our permissive and submissive role on the plantation. The plantation belongs to us. Without us, there is no plantation. Without us, there is no profit. Without us, there is nothing. When Colin Kaepernick staged his protest of the National Football League, Black quarterbacks around the league remained silent. The Black quarterbacks remained silent. Not many white players were in support. Not many Black players were in support. No Black coaches supported Kaepernick. No Black GMs supported Kaepernick. No Black reporters supported Kaepernick. No Black journalists supported Kaepernick. No Black sports writers supported Kaepernick. They did not support him. Meanwhile, Deshaun Watson said nothing. Well, now it's your turn. Cam Newton said nothing. Well, now it's your turn too. Dak Prescott said nothing. It's your turn too. Bill Russell or Russell Wilson said nothing. Your turn is coming too. In fact, your turn did come. You're not even with the same team. We will continue if we continue to operate as if we are islands and we are all by ourselves. We will never gain a collective mind. We must learn how to operate as a collective. And where we operate as a community, we operate with human dignity. We must learn how to operate on a level of higher humanity where we understand if one hurts, all hurts. If one rejoices, all rejoices. If one is blessed, all is blessed. If one is compensated, all is compensated. And if one is falsely accused and denigrated, then all of us are falsely accused and denigrated. Lord have mercy. Jim Brown, who in yesteryear became a poster child for athletes who stood up against the system. My, what a difference a few years has made. That was clearly a very long time ago, because when Colin Kaepernick knelt down to honor those countless defenseless persons of color who were gunned down by police for no reason, like animals, Jim Brown refused to support Colin Kaepernick. Jim Brown encouraged his players to ignore the call of Colin Kaepernick. How the mighty have fallen. Lord have mercy. What a difference the need of a paycheck makes. What a difference that old age makes. It makes a grown, powerful man the most powerful and greatest former running back in the history of the new form of lynching, NFL, into a sniveling boy. Jim Brown won a championship for the Cleveland Browns and then retired. We thought that it was simply a protest, but now we know that he simply wanted to frolic with the white community. He wanted acceptance and validation. He wanted a paycheck, and he got it. He pretended to be a civil rights leader, but within the facts, we know today that he is just a little boy, another little black boy looking for validation and asking the same question that all other house niggas asked on the plantation. Massa, we sick. It is not fair that we place the burden of leadership upon our athletes. They are athletes. They are not scholars. They are not leaders. They are not social scientists. They are not practitioners of any philosophy. They are athletes. They are not preachers. They are not teachers. They are athletes. No matter what we try to do, no ways tries to believe that they can get changed through entertainers and athletes except African Americans. I don't understand that. Every other race relies on political leadership, economic leadership, scholarly leadership. We rely on entertainers to lead us to the promised land, and it hasn't worked out very well, and it will not work out very well, because they are not leaders. They are athletes. They are entertainers. Their job is to do what they do on the field. You let the experts handle what needs to be done off the field. We need leaders. Help me, Holy Ghost. We need a new form of leadership. We have a new form of lynching. We need a new form of leadership of a collective mind in the black community of African descent. It is time for our leadership to lead. Lord have mercy. Whether you are paid or not. We find today that it was not fair, in my estimation, that Jackie Robinson had to carry such a burden upon him. But the reality is, according to the late James Bishop Thomas, is that life simply isn't fair. We've got to do what we can, while we can, when we can, as well as we can, wherever we can. The time is now. Our athletes and entertainers today cannot carry the burden. They must be carried by our politicians and scholars, social sciences, PhDs, those who have expertise in history, in culture, in sociology, and the like. That burden must be carried by preachers of the gospel like myself. If we are to take serious the civil rights movement, we will know that it is not entertainers or singers or athletes that carried the day. Y'all better hear me. But it was they who were called by God, who not only carried the day, but shared the vision and the dream. We made sandwiches, we made chicken salads, we made chicken sandwiches, we made potato salad, lemonades, punches. The average black man who was determined that I am a man who faced angry dogs, who faced angry mobs, who faced angry police, fire hoses, lynching, and the like. It was the average black man and the black woman who walked and rode bicycles vehicles throughout the boycott in Montgomery. It was the black man, the average black man or the black woman who suffered boycotts and was proud of the reality that they were making a difference. It was average black men and black women who were escorted into higher institutions of learning by federal troops. It was average black men and black women that sat in the counters at lunch counters in South Carolina. It was the average black man and the average black woman and children that were bombed in the 6th Street Baptist Church. It was the average black man and the black woman that were lynched up and down the highways and the byways of every state below the Mason-Dixon dime. It was the black man, the average black man, the average black woman that marched on Washington, D.C. to eliminate poverty. It was the average black man and the average black woman that rode on the freedom rides and buses were burned and they were shot and killed and burned. I'm trying to let you know that when the average black man and black woman gets fed up, we're going to shut that new form of lynching down today. Lord have mercy. You are a leader. We are the leaders. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching down the freedom way. I wish I had a witness. We must understand that it is time to begin to institute a new form of leader and a new form of leadership. We've had about 40 solid years of house nigger leadership. We haven't had a real leader since the civil rights movement. We've had about 40, 50 years of house nigger leadership, with those that go into the door of opportunity, slam the door in the face of those that need it most. We've had about 50 years of house nigger leadership, and it's time out. We need real leadership. We need a real form of a new leader in the black community. We need one that actually believes that we are building a nation. Lord have mercy. We are building something related to self-reliance. We are building something related to independence, and we don't need anybody else to help us build it because we've been building it for everyone else ever since we came to these shores. Now it's time to build it for ourselves. Lord have mercy. Again, because we built it before. There's a record of 368 massacres of black towns and villages in cities where they established communities based on economic gain, housing, churches, banks, Black Wall Street, Rosewood, Oklahoma, you go down the list. We've built it before, and it seems like every time we do well, they want to come tear it down. If we go to Africa, they don't want us to go there. If we get our neighborhoods, they don't want us to go there. If we march, they're mad. If we protest, they're mad. Well, what do you want us to do? You won't leave us alone. Maybe we need a new form of leadership that figures out how to dialogue and communicate so that everyone can understand that there's only one race. Lord have mercy, one Lord, one baptism, one nation under God. We can no longer afford to be divided. The allegiance to the new form of lynching, NFL, has never respected us as humans. It is time for us to gather a collective mind and a collective unit to demand that black coaches be hired in a way that is commensurate to the number of players that are on the field. We must gather in a collective mind to man, the black coaches and the coaches of color be hired, demand that black coaches of color be hired for more than just support positions, but as leaders, new forms of leaders that can usher these young black strong millionaires into a new form of leadership as we move into this century and beyond. We must gather as a collective mind to demand that we have access to the ownership table so that we can ingratiate our community like the Jews have ingratiated their communities from the royalties and the proceeds of this multi-billion-dollar industry. We want some of that in the hood. We need some of that in the hood. We deserve some of that in the hood. It's time for a new form of leadership, especially in the hood. And when the door is open, those who are granted the privilege of entering must not do as so many have done, like after the civil rights movement. We cannot afford another round where our advanced leadership and our elite bourgeoisie enter the door of advancement and slam the door on the masses of people of African descent. We cannot afford that kind of leadership. That is what we have become accustomed to. Where one advances, I wish I had a witness, all advance. I'm going to say it again. Where one advances, all advance. Where one advances, all must advance. We are in this journey together. Where one rejoices, all must rejoice. And if Deshaun Watson is going to be on trial, all of us are on trial. And we dare not go silently nor admit to anything that we simply did not do. We want the economic benefits to bless everybody. Our black players who now represent the new form of lynching NFL and who are afraid to speak out for their own rights must overcome the fear of economic oppression and return to the communities and the inner cities of America and inspire these young boys and these young girls like someone took the time and energy to inspire them. We must overcome. Now is the time. The question was asked, how long? How long? And though we aspire to the school of gradualism, the question is still being asked, how long? And the response often has been not long. But as Thurgood Marshall stated in 1954, and Dr. King stated during the civil rights decade, gradualism is not enough. Gradualism has never been enough. The time is now. Tomorrow is too late. The revolution must begin today. Whew. In the case of Deshaun Watson, let us be reminded that there was no crime. Lord have mercy. Not coincidentally, all of the strange fruit that hung from the trees of Georgia and Florida and Louisiana and Alabama and Mississippi, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, they were innocent too. There was no crime. Mr. Watson sought out the services in which he not only received, but the person who offered the services voluntarily were paid and compensated handsomely. Compensated so handsomely that they raised no objections to anything that occurred within that service until there was another opportunity to make more money, until there was an opportunity to participate in another new form of lynching, until Mr. Watson dared to offer his support and his desire to have a black coach. This was his death sentence. Indignation arose among the leadership of the new form of lynching, NFL. And as it relates to the continuous neglect of promoting black men to the position of head coach in the NFL, also known as the new form of lynching league. Mr. Watson falsely accused by a group of women who had been solicited by a well-known lawyer of low moral standard. Only the character of the lowest moral standard can institute the new form of lynching. I'm going to say that again. Only the character of the lowest moral standard could institute the new form of lynching. The standard of low moral character has never been a problem for the new form of lynching NFL owners. They always seem to have an abundance of low moral character. My God. Their goal is to maintain their right to freedom and autonomy at all costs. To the players, a cost, but to them, no cost at all. Mr. Watson was ostracized, criticized, castrated, agitated, lied upon, betrayed, judged, forgotten on a team where he was not only the face and the leader, but the entire year he was left off with no support from the new form of lynching league, no support from his team, no support from black media, no support from other players, no support from anyone. He battled alone with his legal team in obscurity until he was traded to the Cleveland Browns and received a record NFL contract. He was traded to the Cleveland Browns and received this guaranteed multi-million-dollar contract where there just happens to be a black general manager. Y'all better hear me. Those so-called victims were paid handsomely again in order to settle suits that he might be able to move on with his life. Please remember that he went before a grand jury and they found that he had committed no crime. I have heard no sportscaster, I've heard no coach, no official black player, black or white, utter these words: double jeopardy, double jeopardy. And you know why they have not uttered those words? Because this is not a legal proceeding. He has committed no crime. He is being lynched in the court of public opinion and at the prerogative of owners who don't know how to keep a code of ethics for themselves. Jerry Jones, Snyder, Kraft, all have been accused repeatedly of many egregious crimes as it relates to women, players, and unfair compensation. Yet they go untouched and dare put themselves in a position where, as perpetrators, they can now become the arbitrators. Lord have mercy. We must find a new form of leadership that is not afraid of a lynching. I love Deshaun Watson because he's not afraid of a lynching. These so-called, I'm almost done, victims were paid, and I repeat, not just double jeopardy, but triple jeopardy. A grand jury heard only the victim's side of the story. They didn't hear Deshaun's, they heard only the victim. And they determined, after only hearing the victim's side, that there was no crime. Let me hurry to my end. No crime was committed by Mr. Jackson. I repeat, the grand jury heard not Watson's side, but only the side of the victim, and determined, without a shadow of a doubt, that Mr. Watson had committed no crime, yet his penalty continues. The NFL and the National Football League together agreed to a federal judge to arbitrate this situation and concluded that there was no crime. However, there were some violations to this new form of lynching NFL code of conduct, which the players and the owners have never agreed to. It is a code of conduct that they have not used, but they're using it now. A code of conduct that begins to set a linchpin or a crossroads in negotiations between the NFL and the players as we speak. But no such penalty for Mr. Kraft, no such penalty for Ben Roethlisberger, no such penalty for Tom Brady, no such penalty for any non-black, non-minority, no such penalty, but Judge Johnson determined that Mr. Watson should miss 6 games, then he would be able to return, and that he would be given return to the game that he had played for most of his adult life. The new form of lynching commissioner determined that Mr. Watson had not suffered enough. Wow. Somebody asked me if 40 lashes is enough. It's enough if Massa says so. Well, Massa said that Deshaun Watson has not suffered enough. His character has not suffered enough. His assassination is not complete. It will not be complete until Massa says so. The goal was to communicate to Mr. Watson that you are to be deathly afraid of ever challenging the authority of the owners of the new form of lynching at the penalty of death of your character and your career. The suspension was adjudicated by Judge Johnson and gave Deshaun Watson, gave the black community, gave the Browns community one thing that the NFL new form of lynching has been very successful in not giving to its staff and internal system. That suspension, although challenging, a challenging one, gave Mr. Watson and the black community and the Browns community a reason to hope. Wow. One more page. The new form of lynching. The character assassination has a new method of assassinating the character, but not lynching the body. But the goal is the same. Wipe out all hope. Wipe out all hope that any black player can stand up like a man and be treated like a man. Erase all hope. If the new form of lynching can be successful at dashing out the hope of Mr. Watson, I dare tell you that it will change the collective bargaining for the next 20 or 30 years between the players and the NFL will have the last word. The National Football League finds that the presence of the collective bargaining agreement allows for the opportunity of hope. The NFL must dash out all hope, and anyone who dares raise their head in indignation in the face of injustice because of it sets the stage for the duration of this brand and the new current collective bargaining agreement, which is slavery. It is not easy. Lord have mercy. It is not an easy task to bring about a collective bargaining agreement between the players and the owners. No different than it would be to bring about such an agreement between the slaves and Massa. Help me, Holy Ghost. I want to say today that if by some chance the NFL is able to assassinate the character of Deshaun Watson, the NFL will be able to assassinate the character of anyone who dares raise their head in the face of their blatant injustice and lack of concern. The new form of lynching has now assigned itself as the judge after Judge Johnson's decision. This is no different than the perpetrator investigating itself. But remember, the NFL new form of lynching organization reserves the privilege to do whatever they want, whenever they want, to whoever they want, whatever they like, and it is clear that the new form of lynching is not letting go and not allowing this thing to move even an inch. The NFL does not like black head coaches. The NFL does not like black owners, and they have made it clear that it is their prerogative. They have no intention of changing their culture, their way of management, ultimately their way of life. It is if Mr. Kraft and Mr. Jones and Mr. Snyder and our great commissioner have all gathered together for those who live in this privileged elite class and declared, "Let us make America great again." Lord have mercy. I'm at my close. The final part of my essay today. They have held on with dogged determination, only exemplified by those who gathered on Capitol Hill on June 6th in what they called a peaceful demonstration. Only the NFL is calling this negotiations, but there is no negotiation when you refuse to make a change. They gathered on June 6th, January 6th, screaming and prepared for bloody murder, massacre, and lynching. This new form of lynching has drawn a line in the sand. They have declared, in the face of a long history of improper hire practices, a long history of discrimination, a long history of unfair labor practices, compensation, a long history of not providing proper health care, aftercare for players who sacrifice their bodies, minds, and souls for the game that they love. They have drawn a line in the sand and declared that, hell no, we will not change and we will not give an inch. The slave masters knew that the one thing was for sure. If they knew nothing, if there was a slave on the plantation, like a Nat Turner or a Denmark Vesey or a Harriet Tubman or a Sojourner Truth or a Frederick Douglass, then they must be dealt with expeditiously by any means necessary. Because, simply put, we can always get another nigger and we can always get another slave to take their place. If you do any reading on Santo Domingo, you'll find out that Santo Domingo once was a rich island, and it was the pearl of that region, subject to the exploitation of France, subject to the exploitation of Belgium, subject to the exploitation of Portugal. And many of the writers of the time wrote that the only thing that those imperialists and colonials understood was cold steel, which was a sword, and hot lead, which was bullets. Well, we're better than that. Lord have mercy. I wish I had a witness. We're better than that. We will not resort to the modes or the methods or the ideologies of our slave masters. We're better than that. We have never gone anywhere and went into a community and had to start a war or spread disease or do any of those things in order to conquer people. We're better than that. We will not stoop to their level. We're better than that. We're going to rise to new form of leadership, and we're going to do that very thing that God called for us to do. We're better than that. Lord have mercy. Modern society has modernized the lynching. And there's a new form of lynching in town. And it's called the NFL. And they only understand one thing. All the NFL understands is money. Well, guess what? We've got some. If we were to compare the percentages of population and income, no group of people supports the new form of lynching like people of African descent, both locally and globally. No one supports the new form of lynching league more vociferously, more faithfully, more adamantly than the African American community, both near and abroad. No one supports the new form of lynching, both on the field and off the field, like we do. Today as I stand to speak, Deshaun Watson's jersey is on sale at the Cleveland Browns Pro Shop for $350. None of that money is going to Deshaun Watson. His salary is guaranteed. Not coincidentally, Baker Mayfield's jersey is going for $39.95, as it should be. The new form of lynching only responds to economic impact, and the local and global community of African descent can shut the NFL down today. if we refuse to watch their games like I refused to last night and tonight, even though my boy is starting, if we refuse to buy their jerseys, we refuse to attend their tailgates, if we refuse to support their fantasy leagues, if we refuse to continue to allow this new form of lynching to be instituted on our favorite players and our favorite coaches, maybe one day we can enjoy the NFL like everyone else does. I need to close with this directly to Deshaun Watson. It is no coincidence that your decision came out on the day that Bill Russell passed. They've never liked Bill Russell, but they couldn't beat him. Lord have mercy. They never wanted to honor Bill Russell, but he honored himself. Bill Russell was no Passover, pushover, house Negro. Bill Russell was a fighter. And I would conclude, if I had an opportunity to talk to Brother Watson, I'd tell you to keep up the good fight. Fight till the bitter end, which will result in a glorious victory. Stay in court, fight this decision, don't quit, because it's not about you, it's about us. It's about a landmark decision. It's about a mood of a country. It's about making African-American communities great again. It's about a new form of leadership. It's about what you dreamed of when you were a little boy. It's about what your granddaddy dreamed about before you even thought of. It is about knowing that the revolution starts with you, and you have been placed in this position at this particular time by the hand of God to do this job, and you have been given much, therefore much is expected. Boy, you better not stop fighting. You don't admit to nothing, and you keep on keeping on, as the poster said. You keep on trucking. Don't quit, Deshaun. Don't quit. We're with you. We love you. We're praying for you, and we will not quit on you, and we will be there to rejoice with you. Dr. King said, I may not get there with you, but we gonna all get there. We are bound for the promised land. Oh, won't you come and go with me? We are bound for the promised land. Keep up the good fight. God bless you. Thus concludes my essay on Deshaun Watson and this new form of lynching. You can respond any way you want to. But if you really want to respond, be the best that you can be. Allow for no one to bring division into your life. And do not allow for racism to cloud your judgment. It's time that we have a real dialogue where we're really honest and we really want some change, because we really need a championship in Cleveland, but we must do it together. I pray that this issue will bring Cleveland together like we've never been together before. It's time for the East Side to meet the West Side. It's time for us to have a one united Cleveland under God. This is my prayer, and this is my expectation. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I got a feeling everything is gonna be all right. Oh, I got a feeling everything is gonna be all right. Oh, I got a feeling everything is gonna be all right. Be all right, be all right, be all right. Oh, thank you, Jesus.